Baby, I know we can't be friends. That's why I took some time to figure out what I really want. It's crazy to even think about leaving us behind when we spent all of this time. I know we have it good. I thought it was me and you. We were true, but something doesn't feel right. No, I don't know if I wanna stay. Oh, go. Away, don't know where I'm heading, just know that I'm going, so I keep on walking away. I'm saying bye. I'm walking away, so slowly, I'm walking away, don't know where I'm heading, just know that I'm going, so I keep on walking away. No, I don't know if I wanna stay or go.
LM17777 says, Will Richie, Bad World on YouTube. LM17777 says,
Maybe it's you, but maybe it's not, but lately, my love for you has been covering babies. So I think I need to be alone. I guess it's tough, I'm going. dirty and I like that. When it's just for me. You're dirty and I like that. When no one else can see. You're dirty and I like that. When it's just for me. You're dirty and I like that. When no one else can see. You're dirty and I like that. 아침에 눈을 뜨자마자 느낀 설레임 Blossom 향기로운 달콤한 햇볕에 노인거리는 꽃 같아 다 보고 싶지 보이는데 알아도 싶지 행복한데 빨리 사그러들까봐
Today, we're going to be unboxing these headphones that I bought online.
그날부터인 것 같아 내게 가까이 다가
What is up, guys? So this is gonna be a short one. We have to pack up a little, so
See, the thing is, I had heard
Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoint and welcome to my 2022
okay.
room tour, and this is the video where I show you everything in my setup. This includes the TV area, the gaming desk setup, the shelves, and how I've combined them all into one room. I have put the timestamps and links to everything below, so if there is something you like, you can check that out. Well, I hope you enjoy my living room / gaming setup tour today, but if I did miss anything, drop your questions below and I will get back to you. First up, let me show you the TV setup, as I feature this area quite a lot on the channel. Any TV unboxings or videos related to the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox are usually shown on here. So I'm using the 77-inch LG C1 OLED, which has been absolutely awesome and is literally the best TV that I've ever owned. The picture quality still blows me away every time that I use it, and it's perfect for movies and gaming. Now, the reason I chose the C1 over anything else wasn't just for the awesome picture quality, but for the incredible gaming modes. So the C1 actually has full HDMI 2.1 support for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, and that includes VRR, 4K and 120Hz capability. And as I game probably 80% of my time from here, the TV needed to be decent enough for it. I often get asked how far do I sit from the TV. Well, I sit around 10 feet from the screen, which is probably the closest you'd ever want to be from a 77-inch. It definitely feels immersive when watching movies or playing games, but it is awesome as well. You'll notice that behind the TV I've got some RGB lighting. Now this is not part of the TV, so it does not react to what's on the screen, but it does create a nice glow and it is fully customizable through an app. So these are actually called the LifeX Z strips, and they are stuck on the back with 3M tape. I'm actually using 5 meters of them here. Now they don't look particularly tidy back here, but they do look awesome when they're on. During the day, I usually have them set to a clean white glow. That just brightens up the wall behind the TV. But it's at night where these lights really shine. They completely transform the room. Now, although I usually show my setup with the clean white lights on, I actually have these RGB lights on almost every single night. Apart from when I'm watching movies, I usually have them off or very low. So I've wall mounted my TV on an arm from Envision. I've had this arm for about 5 years now, and I've used it on about 5 different TVs. It can actually hold up to 40 kilos, and as it swivels and moves, it means I can pull the TV right out to get to the plugs or the ports. And talking about the plugs, I actually had these wall sockets put in back in 2019 when I redesigned the room. So I don't know how long you've been following me for, but I used to have the TV in the corner of the room just over here. Then a few years ago, I decided to knock out the chimney part of the wall and move the entire setup over. While I was at it, I had some plugs fitted and some trunking put inside the wall for my cable management. So this cable management hole in the wall is how I hide all of the cables that go from the TV down to the cabinet. A lot ask me how I have no cables on show. Well, this is how I do it. It keeps the setup looking tidy, as you can't see any wires at all. And as I put the trunking in the wall, I can easily swap the cables out when I need to. So under the TV I've got this wooden AV unit. Now this was custom made for me back in 2015, way before I had my YouTube or Instagram account. I designed it to hold all of the gear that I had at the time, but it's lasted me a lot longer than I expected. I actually hand drew it, mocked it up in Photoshop, then I found a local joiner to build it for me. I then painted it and I slotted it into the corner. Since then it's moved slightly to the left and I made a door to cover up the speaker hole that I used to have. Now this unit is stupidly heavy and it's solid as well. I can stand on it and it won't flex, and I've even had 86-inch TVs on here without issue. In this little shelf I've got some wooden PlayStation icons. Now these were custom made by Geek Made Designs, a company that makes loads of different gaming accessories out of wood. They do now sell these on their website too if you wanted to check them out. Next to that there's my center channel, and this is a monitor audio bronze speaker, and it's part of a 5.1 kit. This speaker is essentially where the dialogue or the voices come from while you're watching TV. Then finally you've got the PlayStation 5, and this is the disc version complete with the official Midnight Black plates. I definitely play this more than anything else I have in my setup, and it looks awesome on the LG C1. But I also use the PlayStation 5 over on my desk setup, so I will talk more about the PS5 later once we move over to that. Now let me show you what I'm hiding inside the unit. This is all of the gear and accessories I don't normally show, but I've still tried to keep it tidy. So I've got my AV receiver, which powers my speaker setup, and this is an Onkyo AVR that I've had for a few years now. I also have a magic eye that's stuck to the front of the speaker. This repeats the signal from outside the cabinet to inside when the doors are closed, and that allows me to control everything inside. Next to the AVR, I've got a Nintendo Switch, and this is the original model, so it's pretty tired looking, but it's docked most of the time and used with the TV. Then these are all of the physical games that I currently have. I actually buy most of my games digitally, but I have got a few PS4 and PS5 games and discs. And here's my Switch collection, so there's not many here, and most of them are used by my children. It's weird because I only buy physical games for the Switch, but I buy digital for everything else. Now the Steelbooks are my favourite games in the collection that I have. The newest is the 25th anniversary GT7, which is awesome. But I actually think my favourite Steelbook that I have so far is probably the Spider-Man. I think the artwork is really nice on this. I've then got a few others including Cyberpunk, Days Gone and The Last of Us Part 2. As I say, I do buy most of my games digitally. It's just easier and more convenient for me to play and store my games this way. And that's why I recently upgraded to a 4TB SSD in the PS5. On the top shelf, I've got a couple of Switch cases from Satisfy, and this is where I actually store the games as well. Now I didn't film this, but I also use the Satisfy grips with the Switch, and it makes a huge difference with how you hold it. And here are a couple of faceplates for the Xbox Series X controller from Scuff. I don't swap them often, but it means I can change the colour of the controller if I wanted to. Next to that, we've got an Apple TV 4K, and this is the most recent version that launched last year. This lets you stream movies and AirPlay and access the Apple Arcade from the TV. And these two little white boxes here are for my home heating system with Hive and the Philips Hue bridge. Now although I'm using LifeX lights around the house, I do still have a few Philips Hue bulbs as well. And finally I have an 8-port gigabit network switch, and this is what I use to provide a wired connection to the TV, the AVR and all of the games consoles in the setup. and inside this little door on the right is where I charge my controllers. I've only ever got 2 PlayStation 5 or 2 Xbox controllers in here, but it means I can keep them charging and out of sight.
Okay. It's kind of cool.
Starting an online store is easier than you think. Let me show you how to quickly open one with Shopify. First, go to shopify.com and start a free trial. Next, create a beautiful online store without any...
I mentioned that I'm using a monitor.
My next room, we're getting a 4-bedroom, 3-bath townhouse when we move out of this place. My next room is going to be a massive overhaul. So once I do that, everything's being new. Besides the computer setup, maybe I'll buy a new computer for streaming. I was gonna buy a brand new TV so I can put my logo on the wall, and then a better camera for the stream, multiple cameras to be exact. So, but I got a whole team we got the townhouse, but we have to move in soon. They're still building it, so it's gonna take a year and a half probably. So we'll do that, but
The audio bronze center channel speaker, well, that forms part of a 5.1 system. I've had these for a few years now and they sound absolutely incredible. They're hooked up to the Onkyo AVR that I have in the cabinet and they are perfect for anything I play through them, music, movies or gaming. I've got the 2 front speakers either side of the TV and these are the bronze 2s. The right one is sitting on this mission stand at around 60 centimeters tall, while the left one is on the shelf. Both of these speakers are at the same height, which is purely coincidental. I did actually buy these metal stands as a pair, but I quite like the asymmetrical look here, plus it gives me room for my sub. And this is a new addition, it's something that I only added a couple of weeks ago. And this replaces an Onkyo sub that I used to have behind the sofa, but I wanted something bigger and better. So here it is, this is a Monitor Audio Bronze W10 sub. And like with the speakers, I've taken the covers off because I think they look so much better this way. Around the back I've got the bronze 1 speakers and these are sitting on some wall brackets that I fitted. The cables are a little untidy though and it's definitely something that I need to sort. But yeah, combined, this 5.1 system kicks out some serious sound. The clarity and the bass is just awesome. It's on a whole different level to anything I've had before.
It sounds amazing.
Fortunately, I live in a detached house, so annoying the neighbours isn't something that I need to worry about. Oh, and next to the front speaker, I've got this real plant in a white plant pot. I can't remember the name of the plant now. I think it's called a snake plant. Looking at the consoles I'm currently using with my setup, I've got the Xbox Series X here, which is used most of the time for games like Forza. Anything that I can get on Game Pass, I will play on this console. A lot of you ask me, how is the Xbox even connected to the TV? Well, I have an HDMI cable that goes from the Xbox, under the carpet, up and through the wall, and into the back of the TV. I could have put the Xbox in the cabinet, but I like the look of it on the shelf. Next to that, we've got the Xbox Series S. Now, this isn't used a great deal, actually. It was bought originally for my children to use so I could use the Xbox Series X, but so far, that's not happened. Eventually, I will move the Series S into a different room, but for now, it just sits on the shelf. Then we have the OLED Switch, and this is actually only used by me, and it's only used in handheld mode. It's not actually connected to the TV like the other Switch. But what I like about the new OLED Switch is I like the stand on the back. It's so much more sturdy than the previous model. Plus, of course, the OLED screen is so much nicer. So I'm going to come back to the shelving unit in a couple of minutes, but let's take a look at the desk setup next. Now this setup was actually only going to be for a few weeks. It was just something I wanted to build, test out, and then I would pack it away again. Well, that was over 5 months ago now, and it's been used a lot more than I ever expected it would be. The chair that I'm using is the Herman Miller & Body, and this is in collaboration with the Logitech, so it forms part of their gaming range. Now, I've said this before, but this is the best chair that I've ever used. It looks good, and it is incredibly comfy to sit in. Now, I use this on the carpet, and it actually rolls and moves very well on it. However, I have still put a floor mat down just to protect the carpet more than anything else. The desk that I'm using is from FlexiSpot, and I opted for the full black version, so that's the black standing legs and the black top. I rarely use it in standing though, it's practically only used in the sitting position. On the top there's the 27-inch LG GP950 monitor, and this is I think LG's fastest gaming monitor right now, or at least it was when I ordered it last year, but it's not far off the same spec as the TV that I've got in terms of the response time and the gaming modes. Hooked up to the monitor is my PlayStation 5. Now I mentioned before that it usually sits under my TV, which it does, but I often move it here for certain games. So if I'm playing story-driven games or racing games, it'll be on the TV. Games like Horizon, GT7, Cyberpunk and Spider-Man. But when I want to jump on a game like Vanguard or Warzone, I will usually move it to the desk. There are two reasons for this. One is I like sitting upright in the chair, it just feels better. And two, I usually play COD in the evenings. So instead of taking up the TV, my wife can watch Netflix or game on the Xbox while I'm on the PlayStation 5. It's only for an hour or two, but nobody wants to sit and watch me on here. Moving the PS5 only takes me a couple of minutes, as I actually have two sets of cables. I simply unplug it from one setup and move it over to the other. I don't need to move the cables as well. You'll notice that I'm using the midnight black plates from PlayStation, and I've added a matte black wrap in the middle covering up the glossy panel. Next to that there's a wooden controller stand from Geek Made Designs. I prefer this stand over the other one I've got on my shelves, as I prefer the way that it sits upright.
I've been getting paid over $1,000 a week in passive income just from the YouTube app on my phone. What's even crazier though is that I don't even make or upload my own YouTube videos, because in 2023 there's a new loophole on the YouTube app that allows you to make money from other people's videos, meaning the videos that other YouTubers have already uploaded for you. My name's Lucas Lee Tyson, and I became a multi-millionaire at the age of 24 thanks to this new...
On the other side there's a pair of SteelSeries Arctis 7Ps. And these are currently my favourite headset for the PS5. And these are sitting on a wooden headset stand from GroveMade. I love the style of this, and if you're interested in it, I actually have a 10% off code in the description. Now, although I don't use a keyboard or mouse on here, I still have a felt desk pad on the top. I think it breaks up the solid black top. This again is from GroveMade, and it is super soft. Plus it's great for putting my drinks or snacks on while I'm gaming. Finally, the cable management. I've tried to keep as many cables out of sight as possible. Most of the cables are stuck underneath the desk using either 3M tape or these little black plastic clips. Cable management is one of the cheapest and easiest things you can do to completely transform your setup. I will literally spend hours doing this on any setup that I build. Okay, so in between the TV and the desk setup, I have this shelving unit. Now this was from a company called Next, and I've had this for about 4 to 5 years. I wanted something to display all of my gear, controllers and merch just in one place. Now these shelves are really heavy. It's got a full metal frame and wooden planks, and it feels solid. I get a lot of questions about this, but unfortunately I don't think they make it anymore. On the top shelf, I've got a few of my headsets. There's the PlayStation 5's Pulse 3Ds in midnight black. Then we've got the Xbox wireless headset and the Apple AirPods Max. Over here, I've got the Last of Us Part 2 Ellie statue, and I actually bought the collector's edition just for this statue. The detail is incredible. Next to that, I've got a PlayStation glass, which often moves around my room. In the corner of this shelf, I've got a Google speaker, and I use this for voice commands like turning the lights on and off. But this is the shelf where I keep all of my controllers on show. Most of the time they are just sat here, unless of course they are charging in the cabinet. And as you can see, I've got all of the PlayStation 5 colours so far, and I've got a few of the Xbox controllers as well. I would say my favourite Xbox controller right now is the 20th anniversary, which launched a few months ago. I've got another stand from Geek Made Designs, and I love the way it displays the controller. But I'd say my favourite PS5 controller, the DualSense, has got to be the purple. It's definitely the best colour that we've had so far. I think I actually prefer it to the midnight black. And if you've not seen this controller before, this is the 20th anniversary PS4 controller. I actually sold most of my old controllers off, but I still kept this one along with the limited edition console. But that 500 million edition console will not be sold. It's currently boxed up and it's in my loft. Next up is this N64, but it's not just any N64, this is my actual console from my childhood. And of course it's got one of the best games slotted in, and that's GoldenEye. Now in my loft I've actually got all the original boxes, games, controllers and accessories for the N64. I should probably do a video about it one day, maybe even test it out on the TV to see how it looks. Then below that I've got a table, football and a few other bits, but nothing else really to show. Next to the shelf I've got an IKEA lamp which is fitted with a LifeX bulb. Then I've got another lamp over by my sofa, again an IKEA lamp with another LifeX bulb. This means that all of the lights in the room, including the bulbs and the TV, all sync together through the app. So when I want to set a theme or a mood, I can control them all in one go. And quickly moving back to the TV area, this is the sofa that I'm using. So it's from Next, which I ordered it around the time that I did my last TV setup tour in Feb 21. It then came about 3 months later. I opted for this dark fabric with a dark wooden feet. It's pretty plain, but it's comfy and it actually looks quite nice and minimal. It's very big though. It's actually a 4-seater and it will easily fit all 4 of us on when we're watching a movie. Next to that I've got this armchair, and this is called the Sherlock. It used to be over by the shelves, but I obviously had to move it once I built that desk. It's either used by myself or my cat, but mostly my cat. Something else that I have over by the shelves is this footstool. I'll grab and move it on a night when I'm sat over here and it's perfect for chilling with. It's got the cable knitted design and I like the colour as well. And finally, down the side of the sofa, I've got this little side table. Now this has just got my TV or my Apple TV remote here with a fake plant and a candle. It's also somewhere where I can put a drink on a night as well. And here's the whole room. This is the room that I probably spend 80% of my evenings in. Whether I'm watching movies on the TV or I'm gaming between the desk setup and the TV, I try to have a pretty chill night. Now, although it's not a full RGB gaming setup in here, I've tried to keep the room looking clean and minimal but with a gaming focus. The idea was to create a room where it can be used for gaming, movies and to entertain. But here's how it looks during the day with the white lights, and here's how it looks during the night with all of the RGB vibe. It's awesome to see how a few lights can completely transform the look of the room. Oh, and two things I wanted to mention, as I do get a lot of requests about this, and that is what paint do I use on the walls or what is my carpet? Well, the paint that I use is called Dulux Chic Shadow. I've literally been using this since I moved in 2012. And the carpet is called Royal Studley. It's the thickest carpet and underlay that I could find, so it's proper soft and nice to walk on. As for any future plans for this room and my setup, I do have a few that I'd like to do this year. I'd quite like to upgrade my speakers to the newest monitor audio version. The new design that they've created looks really nice and it would then match my new sub. We know the LG C2 and G2 TVs will be dropping over the coming months, and I would like to take a look at one of those. I'm not sure if it's going to be worth upgrading from the C1, but I am tempted this time to go for the G2 instead. As for the desk setup, well, I would consider going for a 42-inch C2. It's probably overkill for the desk, but I do like the colours and the picture of an OLED. I also think the 42-inch could be perfect for this desk. And finally, one big change that I want to make is I actually want to move house. I've owned this house for 10 years now and I am ready for a change. I've got some ideas and I've recently started looking, but the list of things that I want is pretty long. Hopefully that will happen this year, and when it does, I will cover everything on the channel. So is there anything else in my setup or this room that you would change or you would like to add? I'd love to hear your suggestions, so please drop those below. Well, that was my 2022 room tour. Overall, I am really happy with it. It's got a good balance of gaming and a minimal style, and it's somewhere that my family and I can relax, game and watch movies. I actually quite enjoy being in.
Imagine if dozens of small businesses in your town funnel $299 straight into your bank account.
Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoint, and today's video is going to be a little bit different to usual, and that's because over the last 2 years I have filmed every single video on the channel in this house, from my desk setups to my TV setup, unboxings, reviews and updates. But I've lived here for about 10 years now and I was ready to move on to something new. So what I'm going to do today is show you around the new house in its pretty raw and untouched state before the work starts on it next week. But I will explain what my plans are for every room and the setups that I want to build. But any ideas or suggestions that you have as I go through the rooms, just drop them in the comments below, as I'd love to hear them. Today's video is sponsored by Autonomous, whose desks I have been using for the last couple of years, but more on that later.
Oh my god.
Right, so day one in the new house, and as you can imagine, there were boxes everywhere. It wasn't a pretty sight, but over the last 2 weeks, I have tried to make most of the rooms look a little bit more usable. Now, what you will see today are kind of the temporary setups before I actually finish the rooms. Okay, let's start with one of the main rooms that will feature on the channel, and that's this room. This is what I will be calling the studio or the games room. It's going to be where I have my gaming desk set up and where my unboxing and review videos will be filmed. It clearly needs some work in here, and if you know me already, you'll know the first thing that I'm going to do is remove the fireplace. Then once I've done that, I'm going to paint the walls grey, put some grey carpets down, add some lights, blinds and some other furniture. But essentially I'm going to have my gaming setup on this wall, which hasn't changed too much from the old house. I'm still using the GQ950 Ultra Gear monitor along with the PlayStation 5. I'll probably make the desk slightly wider, but sticking with the all black theme. Then next to that is my shelving unit that used to be in my living room, and that just shows off a few different gaming accessories and merch that I've collected over the years. And then in the opposite corner of the room is another desk. You might recognise this one, but this will be used for my unboxing and reviews. It looks pretty untidy over here, but the plan is that when shooting these videos you'll have the backdrop of the gaming setup behind. But I think once the walls and the carpets are done and the fireplace is removed, this should look like a pretty nice room. Then where the fireplace currently is, I'm thinking of adding a very small TV unit where I can then review TVs up to 55 inches. I'll leave these 65-inch or bigger TVs for the living room setup. And this door here goes through to another room, which I will show you in a few minutes. But overall, I am really happy with the plans for this room, and once I finish this room, I will do a dedicated room tour. And then across the other side of the hallway, I've now got a study or an office. This will be the room where I work from home every day in my day job, so it kind of keeps it separate from my YouTube and my gaming setup, which will naturally mean less distractions day to day. So as you can see, it currently has fitted units top to bottom surrounding the entire room. Now, although the quality and the fit of this is incredible, I mean, it's a custom built unit to fit the space, it's just not for me. So over the coming weeks, it's going to be a real shame, but I will be taking the entire lot out. It then means I can build my old setup back in here. And to be honest, I don't imagine a room tour of this room going down too well on the channel. But again, once this room is complete with the paint and the carpets and all of my normal desk setup, I will do a tour of this room. So this next part is sponsored by Autonomous, but if you've watched any of my previous desk setup videos, you'll know that I've been using the Autonomous standing desk for the last 2 years. It has been an awesome desk for productivity, which is why I want to replicate this setup in the new office. Well, Autonomous are currently running a massive Black Friday event on their website, so if you were looking for a new desk or chair, definitely check it out. This includes up to 70% off loads of their work from home products, like their desks, chairs, and other desk related accessories. They're also offering 30 secret gifts for the first 30 orders per day that are over $500, and that's if you purchase before November the 30th, 2022. During the Black Friday event, they will also have flash deals for limited products, so it's definitely worth checking back frequently. On top of that, if you buy a discounted product, you can save up to 75% on additional items that you add to your cart. As always, terms and conditions apply, but generally speaking, you could get yourself a really nice standing desk at a decent price. I've linked to their website and offers below if you want to check it out. Okay, so the kitchen is one of my favourite rooms in the house. I love the open plan kitchen, diner and snuggie area, and over the last 2 weeks it's felt like a really nice place to be with the family. Plus there is a ton of natural light that comes in all day. So there's the kitchen area, which is a decent size. I like the flooring and the layout, but I'll likely be upgrading the kitchen at some point. I was thinking of staining the oak units and maybe swapping out the silver handles for black, but we'll see how it goes. Some of the finishing touches are nice too, like the tall radiators and the oak doors. Not something that I would normally choose, but I'm beginning to like them. Now at the other end of the kitchen is the snuggie area, or the family room as we've now called it. And if you've watched my previous living room tour, you'll notice that these are the sofas that I had in there. They seem to fit in quite nicely, so instead I've ordered new sofas for the living room, and I think I'll keep these in here. And on the left wall there is a custom built unit. This is definitely something that I would have had built myself, so I will be keeping it, and it gives so much storage. The only thing I will likely do to it is paint it a very light grey, as it's a little too warm for my liking. And as you can see, a kitchen isn't complete without an OLED, so I've added my LG C9 OLED in, which fits perfectly in the gap. I've also added the Xbox Series X. I do need to tidy the cables up, and I need to drill a hole through the back just to keep them out of sight. Now this OLED is directly opposite a window, and as I've said dozens of times in my TV reviews, don't put an OLED opposite a window, and this is why. So on those sunny days this will be a tough watch, so I'll probably need to change this in the future to a non-OLED TV. The next to that is the stove or the log burner. And I'll tell you what, with energy prices going the way that they are, I'll probably be using this a lot more than I first planned. But I absolutely love this. Not only does it heat the room and look awesome, it's double-sided so it heats both this room and next door. And that room next door is the living room. Right now it's just a large, cold, wooden room, but it is an awesome blank canvas for what I want to do to it. There's loads of natural light coming in on both ends, and there's enough space for my TV setup. So firstly, the fireplace has got to go. No, I'm just joking, this isn't going anywhere. This is going to be one of the best features in this room. But I will be painting the walls grey, and then I will be covering the floor up with carpet. I know a lot of you will say that I should keep the wooden floor, but it's just not for me. Plus I like the warm and cozy look that a carpet gives, as well as of course those Hoover lines. The plan in here is to have a sofa on one wall and then the TV set up with speakers on the opposite. I'll also buy another shelving unit to go over by the window, add an armchair, lights, prints and some other accessories. I've not fully planned out this room yet, but I know a lot will change, even the lights on the walls will go. Now this TV unit has done me for nearly 7 years now, but I am going to be making a new one. It will look very similar but slightly wider so it fits the larger TVs, and this is where those large TVs will always feature on the channel. And then there's another door at the far end of the room. Now I was going to have this blocked off, but I've decided to actually keep it, because this is the door that leads back into the games room that we saw earlier. So this will be perfect for those nights where my wife is watching TV, but I can be in here gaming, but I'm not too far away. So for most of the rooms downstairs, whether it's the office, the games room, the living room or the snuggie, I've got a good idea of what I want to do to each one. But I've not finished yet, and I still need to show you upstairs. So the master bedroom is a decent size with our super king bed, and it's got loads of mirrors on one side, which is quite nice. Now if you've made it this far in, here's a little secret that you might find hard to believe. Well, do you remember my old desk setup, the wooden one? Well, did you notice that I've never called it an office or a study setup? Well, that's because it used to be in my bedroom. So every video that you've seen from me about this desk setup, in fact the bed was directly behind the setup. Now the only reason I'm telling you this now is I wanted to prove to you that as long as you have a corner in your room or your house, you can literally build a desk setup and it will still look awesome. Now my two children have started to decorate their bedrooms just the way they like it, but my daughter's has this really cool little room that she turned into a playroom, and it means she can keep all of her toys in here and close the door on all of that mess. Then there's the main bathroom, then there's the guest room, which will probably be the last room that gets worked on. Sorry to anyone who stays over. And then finally there's my son's room, which he has made a start on decorating just the way he wants. I'm sure over the coming months he'll add more things to this room, but it's unlikely you'll ever see this one again. So that's it for the inside of the house. Let me show you around the garden. So it's not a particularly big garden, but it's a nice size to keep on top of, and it's enough for the children to use. There's different areas and patios, plus this little playhouse that I will be fitting an 86-inch TV in. And when I was looking around the house, I did notice there are speakers on the wall, so I need to find out where these cables lead to in the house. But this garden will be nice in the summer, especially when I throw that barbecue for the housewarming and you're all invited to come along. Oh, and if you were wondering where all of the boxes and the rubbish is hiding from the house move, well, they're all in this double garage. My original plan was to convert this garage into another room, but I really don't think I need to do that right now. Eventually I will clear this out and create some kind of storage solution, then I'll be able to fit the car in here on a night, but until then I'll just have to leave it as it is. Well, I hope you enjoyed the first look around at my new house. It's got a long way to go, I know that, but I'm really excited to get stuck in and see how each room turns out. It obviously won't be an overnight change. It's going to take some time, but you will get to see the changes as each new video comes out on the channel.
There.
Oh, she's taking off the jacket. You can use a promo code to get a new jacket with Honey if you wanted to. Honey actually works on basically all categories of products. There's literally nothing.
Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoint, and today's video is going to be a little bit different to usual, and that's because instead of unboxing and reviewing a single piece of tech for the channel, I want to show you around my new desk setup. It's where I sit and work for 5 to 8 hours a day, as well as where I plan, script and edit my weekly YouTube videos. So I wanted to create a space that's not only productive with everything I need on hand, but somewhere that I actually want to be. Well, today I'll cover where I got each item from, how I'm using it and what my future plans are. I've also linked to everything below along with any discount codes, so if there's something that you like the look of, you can check it out. So the first thing that I've got to show you, which is literally the centerpiece of this whole setup, is the desk itself. It's called the Sway stand-in desk, and it's from a company called Ergonoffice, who are based in Canada. And this thing is just stunning. It measures 30 inches by 72 inches wide. So it's pretty wide, but it's not ridiculous enough that you need extra support. But it's certainly the widest desk that I've ever owned. When it comes to putting it together, it's really easy. It came with all of the instructions and even a YouTube video showing every step. And the fact the holes were pre-drilled made lining everything up even easier. So I opted for the solid walnut top, although they have 4 different colours to choose from. I then went for the all black frame with the motorised legs, which I think work really well together. Now I've had a few different standing desks over the years, but the control panel on this one is totally different. So instead of having a few buttons hanging down that you'd normally press, they've integrated this swipe panel into the desk itself. Tap the screen and it shows you the current height, then swipe up and it moves to my saved stand-in position. Now I'll be honest, I probably sit down for 80 to 90% of my day, but the fact that I can stand at the press or swipe of a button is just awesome. And there's something elegant about just swiping rather than tapping a button. Then when I'm ready to sit, I just swipe down again and it resets to my saved sitting position. But as for the overall look of the desk, I'm really happy with the combo that I've gone for. I think the walnut top and the black legs works really well together. Right, let's talk monitors. So this here is the 40WP95C, which is LG's 40-inch ultra-wide curved monitor. I've had this for about 9 months now and it's done me really well. Now this is classed as a 5K 2K resolution, so it's a 5K horizontal by 2K vertical, so it's not a true 5K display. But I use this for my day job, editing photos, writing my weekly scripts and editing my YouTube videos. I think the colours are good and the brightness is decent, but the main selling point for me is the screen real estate. Being able to fit multiple windows side by side without compromise is awesome. Now this is the second ultra-wide monitor that I've owned, and after having these two I could not go back to a single flat screen display. Now it does suffer very slightly from screen glare if you look at it from the side, but straight on this screen is almost perfect and the detail is great. Around the back I've stuck an LED strip which gives me a nice ambient glow when I need it. I usually have them set to white, but as they are LifeX lights, I can control them and change them to any colour that I'd like. And you might have noticed that across the top of the monitor I've got this BenQ screen bar halo.
Right.
This gives me a nice light across the desk without actually affecting the screen. And it means I can control the lights using this little control box on the side. All you need to do is spin the dial and you can either change the temperature or the brightness of this light. I've only had this for a few months and seriously thought they looked a little bit gimmicky when I saw them on Instagram. But after using them for a few months I can see why they are so popular. Connected to the screen is my 16-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro. So this is the 2021 model which I've been using every single day since it launched. And just like the screen, I use it for work, scripting videos, YouTube and editing photos. It handles everything that I throw at it, and I really cannot see me upgrading anytime soon. I opted for the 1TB SSD to ensure that I've always got enough space on the go, but I also always use the SanDisk Extreme SSDs to store and back up my data. I really should sort myself out with a NAS drive while I'm at home, but these are easy enough to carry around while I'm editing. Now I could go for a Mac Mini as I think they would look awesome on the setup, but I like the portability of the MacBook Pro. Sure, it's a 16-inch so it's not the ideal laptop to carry around, but I do still use it around the house. Like if I want to sit in the garden or on my sofa while I write a script, well I can. But 90% of the time it sits in this walnut dock from GroveMade, which matches the desktop colouring almost perfectly. It keeps it tucked away behind the screen and I can still use it while docked. So while the MacBook is docked, I use this keyboard and mouse combo, which is the Logitech MX Keys and MX Master 3 mouse. These are...
Okay guys, should I actually do a setup only... I don't know, like the... We'll see how he does it.
Tired, but I've been using them every single day since 2020, so 3 years now. And you know what? These have been perfect for me. The keys are shallow but responsive, and I've always been a fan of the separate number pad on the side. And as for the mouse, it is incredibly comfy to use. So they connect to my MacBook via Bluetooth and they don't require a dongle, and then they can be charged via USB-C. If I had to take a guess, I would say I get around 2 months of use out of them before needing a charge. And under that I'm using this GroveMade felt desk pad, and this is their dark grey in medium. Now I'm using one of these for 2 reasons. First, it helps protect the wood as I don't really want to risk scratching it or wearing it down. And secondly, the contrast looks nice against the walnut. It also doesn't snag at all, so the mouse glides over it perfectly. Now I used to have a full desk pad on my old setup, and I liked that quite a lot. But for this new desk I think I'll stick with the medium, or I might even order the medium plus. Moving on to the chair. This is the Herman Miller Aeron, which I got towards the end of last year. It's pretty expensive for a chair, but I do sit in it most days and I can say it's the comfiest chair that I've ever owned. Essentially, it's an extremely supportive, super adjustable office chair. The bottom and the back support is mesh and it feels like you're floating when you're sitting in it. The only thing it does lack though is the neck and the head support, which is something that I normally go for, although I know you can buy a third-party headrest for it instead. So I went for the all black version, which I think is now part of their gaming range, but other than the colour is no different to the normal Aeron chair. Now although the casters are suitable for carpet and will work just fine, I've still put down a hard plastic mat. One reason is because it does make it a little bit easier to move around, and secondly it protects my carpet from wearing out quicker. It's got little spikes underneath to keep it in place. And as for the carpet, I know this is either a love or a hate thing, but personally I prefer having carpet over hard flooring. It's cozier, comfier and helps with soundproofing in the room. It does a great job of hiding the cables out of sight. Then when I'm standing at the desk I use one of these standing mats which is from Ergonoffice. It's a thick rubbery pad which is designed to help support you if you stand for long periods of time. So every week I record the audio for my videos sitting at this desk, and this is the mic setup that I'm using. It's the Shure MV7 mic, which is a USB mic that simply plugs straight into my MacBook with a USB-C cable. I then have a Shure SM7B pop filter on the front, as this is thicker and longer than the standard one, and that is attached to the Yeti Compass arm. I think this is the nicest looking mic arm that's out there, and it's really flexible, so I can have it out in front of me when I need it, and it'll fold away out of the way when I don't. I think both the mic and the mic arm work really well together, both visually and from a practicality point of view. But what do you think to the audio quality of today's video? So cable management is a big thing for me. It's not possible to hide every single cable out of sight, but I will always try my best. I think having a setup that is almost cable free can make a huge difference to the overall aesthetic of the desk. So firstly, I'm using this privacy screen from Ergonoffice, which adds a long metal strip across the back of the desk. This keeps all of the cables out of the way and means I can swap them out really easily. I then have a power socket on an extension cable which also includes USB ports, and I've stuck that to the underside of the desk. Any cables that go to the desk or the plugs, I've tried to keep these out of sight using these plastic clips. These simply stick on using 3M tape and again means I can swap the cables out quite easily just by unclipping them. The hardest one to hide is the cable that goes down the leg, as this needs to have enough slack that when I'm putting the desk up it can still move. But overall I think the cable management is pretty good and I am happy with it. And dotted around the desk I've got a few different accessories here. So I've got a Grove made MagSafe charger, which means I can keep my phone out of the way and on charge, but I can still glance over to it if I need to. Then I have a snake plant here to add a little bit of green to the setup, as well as another massive snake plant in the corner. These are great for darker rooms or rooms that have a lot of shade, as ideally you don't really want to have them in the direct sunlight. I also have one of these U-Green charging docks. Now I wanted to have this on my desk, but I didn't really want to see it. So what I've done is I've actually stuck this under the front corner of the desk using 3M tape. It means whenever I need to charge my keyboard or my mouse or anything else, I can grab a cable and plug it in and charge the accessory that way. I think it's probably the cleanest way to have a dock like this on your desk. And this right here, in case you wondered, is a glass of Yorkshire's finest water. And next to the desk I'm using this filing cabinet in an all black finish. So it's got the black cabinet as well as the black front panels. It's where I store all of the usual desk accessories and stationery items that I want to keep out of sight. So what I've done is I've put a Grove made tray in here to keep it a little more organised, with things like my SSDs and AirPods and pencils. I've also always got a cloth to hand to give the desks a quick wipe down before photos and videos. And this is my trusty knife that I use for unboxing items on the channel. Then underneath I've got a box filled with random accessories, things like my Sony headphones that I use for editing my audio, and this is a USB-C adapter that I use on my MacBook if I need some extra ports. Oh, and something I nearly forgot to mention is this little black book. This is what I use to plan my weekly videos, so making notes of what I want to film and marking them off as I go. Now over on my wall I've got 2 frames here from Grid Studio. I've got a few others as well, but these are definitely my favourite. So I've got the Sony PSP, which is the first portable console that PlayStation released, and above that is the DualShock 1 controller for the PlayStation 1. And if you know me already, you'll know that gaming and PlayStation in particular are a huge part of my life. I've been gaming since the PlayStation 1 and I've owned them all, so this is an awesome piece of art to have on my wall. Now they've got loads of different frames on their website, and if you were interested in picking one up for yourself, I do have a 10% discount link below. Then on the other wall I have my YouTube play button for passing 100,000 subscribers, which still blows my mind. So thank you if you've made it this far into the video. I could not make these weekly videos without you watching. And if you wanted to know what the paint colour was on my wall, which is a question I often get asked in my other videos, it's called Silver Grey and it's from Next, but it's very similar to Polished Pebble from Dulux. Now as for the lighting in the room, well, it consists of 2 ceiling lights which look awful, so I'm not actually going to show you these today, and then what you see on the desk. So I've got the LifeX LED strip behind the monitor, the BenQ light bar on the top, and I have a Govee floor lamp in the corner. During the day I have these set to white just to keep it fresh and clean.
I'm going to get off, guys. I'll see you on Monday.
I'm a globetrotter. You and I 비교나 하지마 우리 너무 달라 we just different 나 좀 봐라 여자나 집이나 세상 나가신다 너무 빨라 I'm a globetrotter. You and I 비교나 하지마 우리 너무 달라 we just different 나 좀 봐라 여자나 집이나 세상 나가신다 너무 빨라 I'm a globetrotter. 지금부터 시작이야 한턱에 money calls 오지게 이름이야 한턱에 money 만든 moves I've been killing it now 아직 대비 미쳐버린 범인 아니니까 하더라봐 한 미래로 돌아가 한 doing it cause I'm fly now 비그러 더 알아 아직까지 못하잖아 족보지만 나의 실력이 no visa 뉴욕에서 한국까지 everybody raving visa I'm balling out cause I'm a globetrotter yeah 나처럼 잘 나가는 래퍼 불러 yeah 내 소미 나가다가 everybody staring I don't need to play with rookies 나의 visual legend I'm a globetrotter. You and I 비교나 하지마 우리 너무 달라 we just different 나 좀 봐라 여자나 집이나 세상 나가신다 너무 빨라 I'm a globetrotter. You and I 비교나 하지마 우리 너무 달라 we just different 나 좀 봐라 여자나 집이나 세상 나가신다 너무